Hey gang, it's time for the video of the day. I'm your host Greg. Welcome. I haven't done a video on here on YouTube in a long time. However, I am going to do this one. I got a 93 Ford F-150 XLT, and we've replaced just about everything you can imagine on this truck. We've replaced the map sensor. We've cleaned up the throttle body. We've replaced that valve there. I can't even remember what it's called. Okay, we've had the timing checked. We've changed the oil. We've changed the plugs and the wires. We've changed the intake manifold on the other side. It's got, or excuse me, not the intake manifold, the exhaust manifold. We've got the intake manifold that has a new gasket on it. We've got a new belt and a new idler pulley, which is the idler pulley right there that was all screwed up when we got it. It's got a new thermostat. It's got new hoses, upper and lower radiator hoses, fresh antifreeze in it. It's got a new temp sensor in it. Let's see, what else have we done? All the hoses have been checked. It's got a new fuel pump. That little device right there. Okay, that one right there. We replaced that. I can't remember what that is. It's got a new battery. Replaced the radiator cap, if that means anything. We completely cleaned out the overflow. We just can't figure out what's wrong with this truck. Right now is the situation where it'll start, it'll run for a while, and then it'll quit. We're not sure if it's the fuel injectors. We're not sure if it's the ECM. The ECM is actually cheaper than buying all 8 fuel injectors. All the oxygen sensor we replaced as well, and we replaced all 8 plugs twice because they were fouled out. But now, like I'm saying, I'm going to do this video. This is about getting the ECM out. Okay, the electronic control module, the computer that controls the whole vehicle. All right? Here's your master cylinder, okay? And right down there, this piece right here is your ECM. Now I've already taken the nuts off of it. There's a nut right here, and down underneath there's another nut. Okay? Now inside that little hole right there, there's a 10mm bolt. Okay, and what that bolt does is that bolt pulls this connector into the ECM. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a 10mm and I'm going to take that bolt out of there. Okay, I've got a deep dwell socket, or a deep socket, or whatever you want to call, 10mm, and since I've already had it off, I was able to take it out by hand. Now what happens is this will unplug from the ECM now. And you can see the bolt sticking out there. Okay, then you just tuck this off to the side here, and what you're going to have to do is you pull this out, the ECM just slides right out of there, okay? Now, as you can see, if I don't fall off my stand here, it's not going to come out all the way, okay? So what you got to do is you got to come underneath. If I can get the light set right, and there's little bolts that go in here, little tiny ones. I think they were 1/4 inch. I don't remember. They're American bolts. At least the ones I pulled out of this one was. And then back to where that big hole is right there, there's another bolt with a big fender washer on it. Okay? And what you got to do is it's easier if you take 2 people. Okay? But the easiest way to do it is to pull this back and then pull the ECM out. You can see the ECM right there. Now it's got enough room, it can pull right out. You can also do it from down here, but it's a little more difficult. Okay, here you've got your ECM, okay? Now, when you're looking it up on AutoZone or whatever, let's flip it over so you can see it. The center number right there, that center number, F2TF, and then the last 2 digits, XA. That's what you're looking for, okay? Now, when you take this, you can see, obviously, it's got the Ford imprint on it. It's original equipment. It's got a little rust here, a lot of rust here. You can see some of the pins are a little corroded, and there's a little corrosion, you might be able to see it, I don't know, around the outside here. Now, before you get started on this project, so I hope you watch the whole video before you got started on your project, make sure you get your mileage, and your VIN number you can do without it. But make sure you get your mileage. What I had to do is I got this out, and I got it to AutoZone to get my new one and get it ordered, but they couldn't because I had to have the mileage and the VIN number. I guess they program them at the factory for your vehicle. With the VIN number, they can find out anything they want. So make sure you get your mileage before you take this apart. Another thing you want to make sure you do, and I'm sure you saw it in the video earlier on, take the battery out. Okay? You don't want anything electrical even close to this thing when you're trying to hook it up. Otherwise, when you put the new one back in, you're going to blow it up. Don't want to do that. That's $135 shot, at least for this truck. Okay? Well, make sure you have your mileage and your VIN number. They need 3 numbers. The third number is that number I showed you there in the middle. Okay? They're going to need that. Now, putting it back in, relatively simple. You're just going to do everything in reverse. Okay? Now, one of the things you didn't see was this piece here. Let me show you how this piece fits on. Remember the little nuts I showed you? You can see the bottom one now. Okay, that's where your ECM slides into. Okay, now what this piece does, let me back it back up here. What this piece does is this piece, you can see the 2 edges right here. There's an edge right here. You got the little edge in this. Okay, it goes over the top of that. Just like that, and that's where your 2 studs are going to come through, and you're going to put your nuts on there. That's what holds it in and kind of seals it off, because if you look on the back of this, you can see there's kind of like some foam here, and God, I need to clean that out, which I will before I put it back on, but you can see there's like some foam in there, okay? And I think that kind of seals it off so that the weather can't get in there as well. Now, it's down in an area where I'm sure the weather can't get at it too well unless you take the wheel well off, of course. Okay, but putting it back together, okay, what I would do, and this is what I did, was just take your new ECM and get it slid back in that hole. It'll help immensely if you have somebody to help you, okay? Get it back in the hole, get it slid in there where it's supposed to be, okay? Then, put this piece on, okay? Put your 2 nuts on, and then hook up your wires and whatnot, and make sure you get that bolt good and snug. You don't want the bolt too tight, because you might end up breaking it, okay? And then another thing you do is take that electrical connector and look at the inside where it plugs in, and see if there's any corrosion or anything in there. If there is, see what you can do to get it out. A good hard bristle toothbrush and a little WD-40 sometimes will clean that out real well, but make sure you let it dry before you plug it into here, because you don't want anything wet plugging into your ECM, okay? I'm going to put this sucker in probably next weekend, because they got to order it, and I don't know how long it's going to take to get here, but I'm going to try to put this sucker in next weekend. We're going to see what happens. I pray to God this fixes it, because I've had this truck for 2 years. I had it for a year over at the guy in another town a little further over, and he had 2 knee surgeries, and it took him a while to get it all done. He got it done. It was driven back here, but then after that, it started acting up again. So I'm hoping this fixes it. If it doesn't, then I guess it's on to the fuel injectors. And I'm going to cry, because that's about $800. This, as I said earlier, is like 130, 138, 140, something like that. You also will have a core charge, okay? My advice to you, if you're doing this job, 1, to avoid your core charge. 2, to make sure you get the right part. Take this out first. It's not difficult to put back together. It's not like you're going to take it apart and you forget how to put it back together, okay? Take this with you, okay? That way, as I showed you, you've got all your numbers, okay, that you need to compare it to. Then when it gets there, you can look at it and say, yes, that's the right one, okay? That's my advice. Take it for what it's worth. Now, another thing that I didn't show you, I want to show you real quick before I wrap this up. Okay, this right here is the cruise control. Okay, and this has got 2 bolts, and it sits right there. Okay, we took the 2 bolts out and took this out of the way just to make it easier to get to it. Okay, it's just 2 bolts. They're right there, and they're real easy to get out with a socket or a wrench, whichever you prefer. The one thing that I don't like, and it has come in handy because my light's got a magnet on it, is the hinge right here. See, I got a hinge for the hood there, and then I got the hinge hold up to hold the hood up right there. Anyway,